Beautiful. So I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, and my name is Jenny Griffith. If you're listening to the recording today, this call is a bonus speaker that I do every month, and I introduce someone that I really love and value and think has a lot of wisdom and love to share with the world. And today it is Kaitlin Yates, and we are going to be talking about the sacred wisdom of plant medicine. And I'm so excited to hear what you bring to the table today. And hopefully as more people jump on, we can answer questions and whatnot throughout, but I'd love to hand it over to you, dear, and you can introduce yourself and go ahead and share your wisdom today. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I go by Katie and Kaitlin, is interchangeable. And my background is in behavior analysis, and I've been stepping into work in addiction recovery and psychospiritual integration, whether that includes use of plant medicines or just integrating other learning and spiritual practices as we all collectively raise our consciousness. So I'm going to share my screen here. And let's begin. So first I want to provide a disclaimer that I am not advocating for or promoting the use of any substance or medicine. And then also, if you are on your own free will deciding to engage with any of these medicines, please first check with a medical professional to ensure that there's no contraindications with any medicines you are taking or anything that's going on neurologically or physiologically with you. And so today we're going to cover what are entheogens, review holistic preparation and integration, and the importance of really understanding the history and origins of these entheogens, because they're emerging in incredible popularity with what's referred to as the psychedelic renaissance. But it's really integral to understand how these medicines have been used throughout human history and their role in our collective humanity. So to define an entheogen, to break the word down, En is within, Theo is God, spirit, and gen is creation or to come into being. So entheogen means to generate God or spirit within. And with some of you, this may resonate. You may understand what this word means in a felt sense. And we use the term entheogens in order to differentiate their use as separate from recreational use and to give the proper honor and respect. So you may also hear a variety of other terms such as sacred medicine, plant medicine. Certain medicines are referred to as grandmother, grandfather, or a sacrament. And you know, some of the things we'll be talking about today, some people may have used them at festivals or in party settings or, you know, back at the Grateful Dead concerts and whatnot, but it's very different when used in a intentional and ceremonial way. So to define entheogens, they produce altered states of consciousness or mystical states into spiritual, supernatural, metaphysical realms, or producing a transpersonal or transcendent experience. They do contain psychoactive components and are known to have great power over the ego, shattering areas of denial, conditioning, and what we may call blind spots, and opens a greater intelligence of the psyche, which allows for deep inner work. Used to gain insight into the human condition, the essence of the true self, inner wisdom, and purpose of life. So they're really used to deepen our capacity to tune inward and explore our suffering, in a sense, and transform our suffering into growth and learning and healing. And of course, you can accomplish growth and healing and learning without the use of these substances. But throughout human history, this is what they've been used for. And there's a resurgence of using these medicines in this way. And many people have experienced profound healing and like a deepened capacity to enjoy and experience life and accept things the way that they are. So rather than interpreting certain struggles as overly negative or overpowering, you're able to view it as, you know, acceptance of what is, and to be able to move through it to get to the other side of more abundance and growth and a greater experience of life. Entheogens are considered to hold sentience and plant wisdom from plant teachers coming from Mother Nature herself. So consciousness. And traditionally, culturally, and indigenously, entheogens have been thought of as a rite of passage, community ritual, and medicine used for clarity, compassion, connection, and contribution. So if an individual was experiencing some sort of psychological distress, they may visit a shaman, and the shaman would treat that distress like a physical illness, and they would treat it in a similar way in order to, you know, according to whatever their belief system is, but, you know, purge and cleanse and clear. And then also as a rite of passage. So some of these medicines are used for adolescent children as a way of, you know, coming into their adulthood, just making that transition from childhood into adolescence and adulthood. So for us Westerners, that's sort of hard to believe, but it's true. It's part of practice, and it's interesting because that's something that we've kind of lost, is our rite of passage and those like the importance of really signifying what an individual is going through in the course of their human experience. And now we're gonna get into a little science-y brain type stuff to better understand like how these are operating on our physical human system. So you could classify the entheogens into these different categories. So under hallucinogens, there's psychedelics, and under psychedelics, that includes cannabinoids and pathogens and serotonetics. And then also under hallucinogens are dissociatives and deliriants. And then another classification is entheogens. Oopsies, going deeper. So cannabinoids, that's THC essentially, and you could also use other parts of the plant such as CBD. And pathogens, they release serotonin into the brain and produce feelings of love, connection, appreciation, and acceptance in MDMA. So one may choose to use MDMA for processing trauma. And right now, there's phase 3 clinical trials of using MDMA in a clinical setting to treat PTSD with veterans. And then there's serogenetics, which are agonistic or pro-serotonin in your brain, and they affect the serotonin receptor 5-HT2A. So this receptor system is known to have a connection to stimulating a higher intensity experience. So many medicines work on this same receptor profile, such as LSD, DMT, psilocybin, and mescaline. And then the last category, that includes, it produces dreamlike visions and has been said to connect a person to ancestral wisdom. So an example of that would be iboga and ibogaine. And then under dissociatives, that involves one feeling like they are removed from their state of, their usual state of consciousness. And that includes ketamine. And then deliriants, that's under the classification of hallucinogens, but it's not typically used as an entheogen. I only include it to provide a distinction and really to stay away from deliriants, honestly, because they block the acetylcholine neurotransmitters, which interrupts brain and your nervous system. And that comes with less benefit and more risk. So although people are using deliriants, it's really, there's really not too much medicinal use, and they're, be wary of those. Okay, I'm getting into holistic preparation. So this is if, on your own free will, you chose to move towards a medicine experience. Some things to consider in your preparation, which you can do on your own. You can do all of these things on your own, but there is support available as well, and highly recommended. So there's mental preparation, which is what you've heard of set and setting. So intentions, where are you at in your own neurological health? Why are you moving towards using these medicines? And then there's physical preparation. So that's understanding your cardiovascular health, your overall physical health, because with some of these medicines, you do experience increased heart rate, shortness of breath. You may feel very physically exhausted after using them. So there's things you can do to physically prepare your body, cleanse your body, open yourself up energetically, if you believe in that, but open yourself up in order to really receive the benefits from these medicine on a physical plane. And spiritual preparation. So this varies, depending on your own relationship with your spiritual and religious practice. And so that's highly individualized, but this also kind of ties into intention as well on what are you asking to receive What are you asking to be cleared from your path? Are there any sort of mantras or spiritual practices that you want to bring into your experience? And just sort of where are you at with your understanding of God, consciousness, and whatnot? And are you ready for the potential of having everything you think you know to be true, having all of that shattered, and maybe understanding things completely differently? So again, all of these things are highly individualized, but I'd say especially spiritually, if this is your first experience with sacred medicine. And home and aftercare setting preparation. So this can include taking care of all of your chores before the medicine experience, doing the laundry, cleaning the house, maybe preparing some meals, having groceries readily available, really being able to come back to your space, whether that's your own home or wherever you're going after this experience. Like, is it set up in a way for you to be able to fully relax, not be in your logistical planning mind of, oh, this needs to be done and this needs to be done. Like, the more you can drop out of that space, the better. And sometimes too, like, are you coming home to your own space, or are you sharing a space with others? And this kind of gets into relationship preparation of, do these people know what you are going to be experiencing, and can they support you in a way that you might need? So with the relationship preparation, that can include how to have conversations with family members, friends, roommates, loved ones on what you might be going through, and potentially the support you may need. Do you have someone that's available to hold space for you, to receive you, or not? Because sometimes people don't. Sometimes family members may not understand. So part of having support and preparation is how to ensure that you're feeling supported, even if the people around you may not really understand what you are going to be experiencing. And then lifestyle preparation. This can include taking time off from your job, or sometimes people come out of medicine experiences and they want to quit everything. They want to quit their job. They want to just ditch everything, but that's not recommended. So having the support in lifestyle preparation is maybe acknowledging where in your life are you experiencing maybe feelings of inadequacy or feelings of suffering, because chances are in your medicine experience those are going to be heightened. So how to come out of a medicine experience and be with this discomfort and be with this suffering without making any major changes immediately. And then part of preparation, the main part of preparation, is preparing to integrate. And then next we'll get into integration. Because integration begins before the experience and has potential for lasting life change if a person commits to that process. So it's really not just about the medicine experience. About 95% of it is the integration. And the process of integration includes receiving. So that's being very present with your experience. So that's a beautiful part of preparation, is you can be ready to navigate your experience. Like, you know what to expect. You are physically ready, mentally ready, spiritually ready, so that in your experience, you are receiving information. And step one of integration is just sit with that. Just be with everything you just experienced and you received, and just sit with it. Next is to process it. So that includes journaling, that includes talking to the person that's supporting you or the people that are supporting you, really starting to make sense of it. And third step is taking action. So through what you've received and through your processing of it, how can you take that into your daily life? How can you take action? Like, this is the piece where if there's areas of your life where you're dissatisfied, how can you make small, gradual changes over time, nothing immediate, gradually over time, and cultivate that wisdom that you received. And then next is to release. You release what no longer is serving you. Release any judgments, conditioning, memories of the past, stories of the past, releasing everything that you're not going to bring forward. And putting it into practice, because you're probably not going to get it right the first time, but it's reviewing and it's going back over and it's remembering, it's reading the journals, it's touching back in with the people that have been supporting you. And yeah, because when you come out of the medicine experience and you're right back into your daily life, it's easy to become conditioned again. But if you're in your process of integration, then you're able to steadily practice, remember, release, and cultivate new practices. And over time, of course, it becomes more natural, but it takes that practice. And so long-term repeated integration includes higher level skills training, self-mastery practices, and spiritual cultivation. So the more you learn to integrate your experiences, whether they're sacred medicine experiences or not, whatever it is, whatever wisdom you're gaining from life, the more you're able to integrate that over time, the more higher level, higher self-mastery, self-actualization, the more you're going to experience. But that's part of the human journey, right? It's not jumping from 0 to 100. It's over time, having grace with yourself, forgiving yourself, staying in your process and staying supported. How's everyone doing? Doing good? Awesome. And the next point I want to make, very important one, is to really tune in to the medicine that you're choosing to use. And even exploring all of the medicines, learning about all of the medicines before jumping into experience. So you may be feeling a call, you may be feeling curious, but really tune into, what is available, and based on its origin and its history, its role in society, the method of intake, its felt experience, preparation, integration, benefits, risks. It's all unique to each medicine. So I encourage you all, if you're choosing to move towards a plant medicine experience, to really study the medicine that you're interested in. To give an example, I am going to review the origins of psilocybin. Psilocybin is something that many of us are very familiar with. We've heard of, magic mushrooms, shrooms, what have you. And I personally feel I have a very deep connection with psilocybin, and I think that in humanity, they are considered one of our greatest plant teachers. Because fungi have been around on this planet way before us, and they will outlive us always. They will always, they're not going anywhere. So psilocybin is a fungi. And it's potentially been used for hundreds of thousands of years, although the first evidence dates back to 10,000 BCE in ice caves in Australia. There was cave art, and the cave art looks suspiciously just like psilocybin mushrooms. And the stoned ape hypothesis was established by Terence McKenna, and he linked human brain evolution to the ingestion of psilocybin mushrooms. And I don't know if any of you have seen the film Fantastic Fungi, but there's a beautiful scene in Fantastic Fungi where some human ancestors, human Homo sapien predecessors are walking along, and they find little psilocybin mushrooms, and they ingest the mushrooms, and you can see their consciousness being expanded. It's a very beautiful illustration. Recommend it. And many religious myths of the Aztecs, Maya, and Toltecs are rife with mention of mushrooms, even stating that they were given to distant ancestors by the serpent god Quetzalcoatl, who was worshipped as the creator of life by all of these cultures. And fun fact, Ram Dass and Timothy Leary and I believe Alan Watts as well, they had traveled to Oaxaca and sat with Maria Sabina, and that was Ram Dass's first psilocybin experience and his introduction to this spiritual path. And I think that's really beautiful. I feel very inspired to visit Oaxaca, because that is the most recent origin of the use of psilocybin mushrooms in a ceremonial way. And it was because of Maria Sabina that psilocybin mushrooms were brought to the West. Because in the 1950s, forget who it was, but somebody wrote about psilocybin mushrooms and Maria Sabina in Life magazine. So I find that very beautifully interesting as well, how in Life magazine in the 1950s, they were writing about psilocybin mushrooms. And then of course that led to a boom in the first stage of this century's psychedelic renaissance. It was then suppressed, but now we're seeing a resurgence of the study of the use of these medicines. And so current status of psilocybin, it is federally illegal. Federally, it is considered a Schedule I controlled substance that is considered legally to not have an accepted medical use and has a high potential for abuse. So you can take this information, do as you wish with it. And then also, if you're not familiar with the war on drugs, you can look into that too and do your own research. But in May 2018, the Right to Try Act was granted for terminally ill patients. So yes, that was in Trump's presidency. And in October 2018, the FDA granted breakthrough therapy status for studying psilocybin. In May 2019, Denver, Colorado was the first city to decriminalize psilocybin mushrooms. So that's not legalizing, that's decriminalizing. So if you have on you, you will not be taken to jail, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're legal. Santa Cruz and Oakland, California have since followed, as well as Cambridge, Massachusetts. So baby steps. That's similar to the trajectory of cannabis. Started with decriminalization, and then eventually led to legalization. Although the interesting thing with psilocybin is it's really been coveted, and there's many attempts to really contain the sacredness of it. And I think a beautiful example of bringing the wisdom of psilocybin into our modern day experience is Oregon, just this past November, passed Measure 109, which is the Oregon Psilocybin Services Act. And what that does, or what that did, is it created essentially a 2-year process where there's now a board of individuals who are determining what is the licensure process for clinics and clinicians to use psilocybin in a therapeutic way. So it's very systematic. It's not anything immediate. Like I said, it's a 2-year process, and it's really, holding sacred the essence of psilocybin. And look into that too if you're curious. And just right now, like as we speak, there's a State Bill 519 in California that so far has passed through 2 Senate committees. So it needs to pass through a few more. But this measure is to decriminalize psilocybin statewide in California. So it's still unknown whether or not that will happen, but it is interesting to see that it is passing through on a state level. And with all of that said, all of the information I just gave you, I want you to know that support is available for curiosity of plant medicines and sacred medicines, and readiness and integration. So there's readiness assessments. Support is also available for beginning the work ahead of the experience. So whatever that means for you uniquely, whatever your work entails. To study and understand the origins, history, and current use of different entheogens for you to make an informed choice, because it is your choice. There's many factors to consider when selecting a medicine journey. So from the facilitator to the setting to the country that you're deciding to do it in, like, is it legal in that country? Is it not legal in that country? What is travel like to that country? Like, what is the whole greater context of your experience, and are you prepared for it? There's support available for navigation training, so understanding what's going to happen physiologically, understanding what's going to happen in the experience, how to stay present with your experience, how to not get distracted by visualizations and hallucinations, but how to really stay in your experience and gain the most from it. And integration preparation, that's huge, 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 huge. There's, immediate support after your journey, continuing the work during your integration. And having support is beautiful because sometimes you just need reassurance that someone understands what you're going through, and they can be a sounding board for you because it's your process, it's your journey, it's very unique to you. And there may not be many people who really understand what you're going through, but there are people who can support you. And having guidance in navigating potential major life changes after the experience. You may feel a bit ungrounded. You may feel like you're questioning a lot of things in your life, and to have someone there for you to help ground you, to help put a plan of action into place, or to just provide questions of like, is this the right time? And do you want to do this? And yeah, I can provide that support, but also I may not be right for everyone, but you can feel free to reach out to me and I can help you find someone who is a good fit for you if you are choosing to move towards any of these experiences. And here is my information. You can feel free to email me. Right now, I'm in Guatemala, so email would work best, and I can get back to you as soon as I can. My website is radiant-transformation.com. So that's if you want to know more about me, the process, the experience, whatnot. It's all on there. And please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be having so much more content coming out, all of my own original writing, and you may find comfort and reassurance in my writing. It's from my heart, very intentional, provided directly to you and your heart. And there's an app called Signal that some of you may be familiar with, and you can text me on there. And I prefer that any conversations about plant medicine and sacred medicine are done over Signal, just to ensure that no eyes or ears are listening and watching, because it's still illegal. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Jenny, for having me.
That was so amazing. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. I'd love to see if anyone wants to ask any questions. I have questions, but I'm partially a facilitator, so I would love to ask.
Yes, thank you. Are there questions?
No questions. Okay. My question is, thank you, Katie. My question is, I'm interested in the assessment because I know that a lot of people who are listening to this recording, they might be interested in doing this more legit, like getting a practitioner like you to help them get from point A to point B and do this safely. I'm interested in what that assessment is like what kind of questions are on that? How does one know if they're ready for something like this?
Yeah, so the readiness assessment would go into sort of like that holistic preparation checklist, like where are you at in your headspace? Like what is calling you towards a medicine experience? How is your physical health? How is your spiritual health? What do you know about the plant medicine that you're curious about? Have you found a facilitator? You know, do you have people in your life that are using these medicines? Like, you know, what do you know and not know about the experience? And, you know, where are you at within yourself?
What would be some indicators for someone who is emotionally maybe not there yet?
Yeah, I'd say a beautiful starting point for that would to be doing the work beforehand. And what that's going to look like and what that's going to entail is going to be different from person to person. But understanding that if someone is emotionally distraught, the medicine is not going to provide the answer. The medicine is not going to be a quick fix, magic pill, magic cure. Yeah, and it could actually exacerbate some of that emotional distress.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not to say you shouldn't do the medicines at all if you are at all emotionally unsound, but I would ensure that you have adequate support and are ready to, and having like the emotional strength. So you can have emotional distress and emotional strength. You can have both. So it'd be cultivating some of that strength, cultivating some of that resilience, cultivating that inner power of, yes, I'm in this difficult place, but I'm ready to face the challenges and I'm ready to move through them.
Yeah. Wow. And then some of the, I know that, and I'm not sure if we can open this up, but I know, is there some sort of questions about pharmaceuticals? Like, are they on antidepressants or have bipolar disorder? I think that's also important to point out that, or I would love to hear your take on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I highly encourage getting some sort of clearance from a medical professional. And there are medical professionals who work within the field of plant medicine experiences. They are familiar with the medical, physiological end and what a person will experience engaging with different medicines.
Mm-hmm.
So, expert on that by any means. But I would encourage others, especially if you're seeing a psychiatrist, if you are seeing a psychologist, if you have any medical conditions, you're looking into the contraindications of the different medicines. Because, you know, something like ayahuasca, the copy vine that's used in the ayahuasca brew, that's an MAOI inhibitor. So if you are taking a pharmaceutical that's an MAOI inhibitor and then taking the ayahuasca brew, that can be lethal. You could die. You can die from that. So you cannot die from ayahuasca with nothing else in your system, but you can die if you are taking medicines that contraindicate the neurological process of medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very important. Yeah. And heart conditions as well. especially with the ibogaine and the combo medicine, your heart rate rises really intensely. So all things to think about. And I love this so much because, you know, now when I look at sacred medicines, it's like, why would you ever do this recreationally? Because they're so, you know, because they're so profound. And if you really give these steps a try, the way that Katie's laying them out, I mean, you can have really profound, life-changing experiences, so you can just be a better human and resolve a lot of shit. And so I love the intentionality behind these steps, Katie, and I think it's so important to keep educating people about these things. I love the work that you're doing. And so I really encourage everyone to reach out to Katie, who's listening in today, if they're interested in learning more about where to go and just to talk, because she is someone who is really good at listening, and she just has a huge heart, and she's extremely knowledgeable. Her background is quite vast, and she's been studying the mind for years. And she really knows where to send and direct and give love to someone who's experiencing something that they might want to really resolve through, you know, trying something different, like one of these medicines. So I just want to share that.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions today? I would love if Nancy or Lisa could ask just one question, so it's not just me asking the question, just to really round out this call. I would really, truly appreciate that.
Well, some people might, I mean, this is kind of, you know, not many people think of this sort of, when you think of plant medicine, you know, and then to find out, oh, it's all psychedelic mushroom stuff. It may, you know, people, well, for me, it's like, ooh, that's scary, really scary thought. There's absolutely no way. And so, you know, that would be, you know, a big deterrent. So, like and then if somebody decided, well, you know, they would want to know, what good is this going to do for me? You know, where could we find information on that? And then is there different doses? Like maybe you just want a baby dose. Or, you know, where do you find information on reliable information on all of this?
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. It's a very important point that this isn't for everyone at all. And of course, as you know, that most plants, all plants hold sentience, all plants hold wisdom. And really, this was just a discussion of understanding like entheogens separately from recreationally. But yeah, if you do not feel called to use these plants and these substances, like don't. Like it's, you either are called or you're not. And there's no right or wrong. There's no good, bad, right or wrong. Like it's okay. Like it's totally okay if you're just like, that's not for me. You know, I like how I am. I like this state of consciousness. I'm not interested in engaging with these medicines. That's perfectly fine. That's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And there's such a thing as microdosing. So with microdosing, that would be something you could Google, would be, you know, microdosing psilocybin. And with microdosing, you don't feel any physiological effect. So typically with psilocybin, you would take it in the morning before you ingest any food or coffee or anything. And it's encouraged that you journal, like, you know, are you noticing any difference in your trial? It's like, this is all a choice. Never have anyone influence you or encourage you to do anything. You know, it's your free will choice. Yeah, but I would look up microdosing if you're interested.
Okay.
And websites, trusted websites would be maps.org. And then, which I could write in the chat, maps.org. And then the Chacruna Institute. Chacruna Institute. And the Chacruna Institute is really beautiful because they are very balanced in withholding indigenous wisdom and the science. So that's a trusted place to get more information to fully honor these medicines. And I see that Lisa asked, how do you go about procuring quality plants for general medicinal uses? Things like making a tea for menstrual cramps, for example. I would encourage you to look into herbalism. Look into, that's a whole other end of sacred plant wisdom. I mean, really all plants are sacred. You know, let's give a shout out to all the plants. But yeah, like one example for menstrual cramps, cinnamon is actually great, as well as ginger is really great for menstrual cramps. And yeah, things like burdock are great for menstruation as well, because that influences the, like, just cleansing, because that's really what's occurring when you're menstruating, is you're cleansing. So there's different cleansing herbs. Yeah, there's so many plant allies for our general health, especially as women. But I think there's a really, really beautiful, profound connection between the wisdom of women and the wisdom of plants. And that's part of the reason why I'm in Guatemala, actually, side note, is Jenny and I are actually doing an herbalism and permaculture course here in Guatemala. So that's why I'm here. But yeah, look into, yeah, herbs. Just Google herbs for menstruation and let that take you on a beautiful journey.
Thank you so much for all this information, Katie. This was really, really amazing. And yeah, I hope everyone learned a little bit today about how to take things a little more, take things to a more sacred level when it comes to the medicines that we take, whether it's chamomile tea or you're going on an ayahuasca retreat. And just to be more mindful in all the ways that we pre and post do anything, really. It's like this integration work, I feel like you could do with really a lot of things, right? It's like you prepped before this call. And now you're going to integrate afterward how it went. And you're going to maybe do some post work. So it's really a life teaching as well. Integration is very powerful. And I really feel like I understand integration now because of this presentation. I was a little bit like, what is that? What does that mean? Does that mean you meditate or journal? And this really is, I feel really clear on this now. So I really appreciate this and pray that you have a safe journey in Guatemala for the rest of the month, and I'll see you there later.
Thank you. Yes.
Does anyone else want to give Katie some love before we clock out here? Yeah, beautiful. Thanks so much for showing up. Lisa, I think. Lisa?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Your time and everything. I'm sorry, I'm like working while I'm doing this, so I haven't been able to like super participate, but I've definitely been listening. So I just appreciate all your wisdom. So thank you for hosting this, Jenny, and thank you, Katie, for doing this from afar. It's great.
Yes, Katie went through a lot of work to get in this little plant corner that has Wi-Fi. So thank you so much, Katie, and we love you very much, and we'll stay connected. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.